to Detroit in black and white. I'm Adolph Mongo, Vanessa, Allan Lengel. Here at McShane, Michigan, and Trumbull, in the midst of the NFL draft.
NFL draft. Yes.
And you know I want to say some shit, but I'm not. I'm glad to see. All right, they ain't feeding me. Listen, I'm glad to see all the people.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, this is what a city should look like.
Absolutely.
There we go. It was from yesterday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So nice.
Its queue line was packed.
You mean the toy train?
The toy train.
They really needed the
and
toy
then here
train.
was a man making money off of it.
Okay, keep going. keep
Why
going.
are you trying to agitate him this morning?
You know, well, because he's
He's an
2.5. He's 2.5. I'll just leave it at that. Okay.
Right.
Let's get it together. We're gonna talk about the draft at 10:15, but let's get to
You want
the
we mentioned we're going to have Ahmed Ghanim, who's a Democrat who is running against Haley Stevens in the, I believe it's the 11th congressional district.
Okay.
She was supported by AIPAC last election.
Right.
She knocked out Andy Levin.
Right.
And now he wants to run and raise the issue of the war in Gaza. And,
That's legitimate.
yeah. And so it'll be interesting because I think if AIPAC sees that Haley Stevens is being threatened, in her reelection bid, we're going to see some real money. But he may have. We'll ask him what kind of money he can stir up.
Do we have to
And
leave
when,
money?
and when we have the guests, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor.
Yes.
I want you to do the audience a favor, and I'm going to say something to the audience in a minute. Let them answer the question before you ask them another question. And I don't want to interrupt you, but we have questions too. I'm just putting you on notice, dude.
Well, wait a minute. I'm going to interrupt you.
Let them answer, because you ask a question. You ask very good questions. But they don't even get the answer off before you get
That's
them
not true. I'm going to go over. I don't believe that's the case.
Listen.
I am putting this under protest.
All right.
I think what she's saying is, let me talk more.
Listen, both of them are talking and they interrupt and do all that other bullshit that they do. But listen, go ahead and talk to the audience.
Good morning to
No,
Detroit.
I'm kidding.
Good morning to Detroit Black and White viewers. If you are watching on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, we'd like for you to continue to watch. We want you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. You can find all of our past episodes on DetroitandBlackandWhite.com. You can also go on Deadline Detroit and watch our show on Deadline Detroit.
And you can follow us on every Thursday.
Oh, that's right.
We had Ramsey Downriver Trent.
They have a show every Thursday. They cheat. I had to find out. Somebody told me, your man cheating on you. I was like, what are you talking about?
Hey, you could come anytime.
They're going to Trenton without you. But anyway.
Yeah, we here. Okay, let's start off, and we're gonna talk football at 15.
10:15, right?
Okay, go ahead.
So,
Your outrage of the week.
Listen, the United States Supreme Court has signaled that maybe the President of the United States may be granted some kind of immunity for obstruction charges. And the lone conservative, the last appointment that he made, she has a problem with that. But we'll see what happens. But that is outrageous, because basically, in my view, what you're saying, possibly saying, is that you are above the law. You can do what the hell you want to do, and that's not cool at all. That's not cool, especially for somebody like that. Especially somebody like that.
That's my outrage as well. Is that my outrage as well is that they first of all shouldn't have taken the case. I mean, they have broadened the question now about presidential immunity and stuff. When in fact, here's a specific case where a guy, for the first time in the history of our country, has tried to overthrow the election and had fake electorates and pressured, officials to try to change the votes and stuff like that. And And that is really, so now they've broadened it and said, well, when is it personal? When is he doing his job?
Right.
But he wasn't doing his job as a president when he's calling the guy in Georgia, when he's organizing with his lawyers to get fake electorates to take over.
But this is not the first time the Supreme Court has done some ridiculous bullshit. We can go back 200, 300 years ago, whatever. 1941, 42. What did they do? Supreme Court said it was legal to go round up thousands of Americans.
Japanese
Americans. They was born here, lived here, had property, businesses, and listen, and they put them in internment camps,
Right.
concentration camps.
Right.
So this is not the
And
first
they don't
time.
want you to say it was concentration.
Well, look, in 2000, in 2000, they cut off the recounts down in Florida, and some of the Supreme Court justices were upset about that.
Right.
They thought it should have run out, and we could have had a different outcome.
But your girl, Sandra Day O'Connor, and Clarence fucked up Thomas, they threw the election to Bush. And I have to give Gore credit. Gore said, okay, enough is enough.
Right.
He legitimately could have said, y'all stole the election.
Right.
Right.
What was her name? Kathleen Harris in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah,
She stole the election. So here we are.
And look, Hillary could, in the beginning, Hillary had some claims or whatever, but then she said, okay. Trump is still, it's 4 years later, and Trump is still claiming the election was stolen. He can't accept reality. He's delusional.
I'm very disappointed and outraged that the Supreme Court would do that. And so, of course, that means that he would not even go to trial on this issue until after the election.
Right.
But, it is what it is.
Right. My outrage is these folks that come to our city, and we had great turnout. Draft. Everybody saw Detroit, but damn, Detroit never went anywhere. And to have people like Stephen A. Smith and them say, "Oh, the football, it brought Detroit back." Fuck, it been back. It never went anywhere. We know what the city's about. We know who worked hard. We know who worked hard to make.
Some hard times.
Of course,
We had some
but
hard
we
times.
stuck here.
Downtown did not look the way that it looks like now.
Here we got the deputy
yeah.
mayor. Am I right? Do we have to apologize to the outsiders and say, "Look, what do you like the city and all this?" Fuck, you go to New York, Chicago, they got all their problems. They don't say, "Oh, how you like the city." They just say, "Here we are, warts and all."
I'll say it like this, in hip hop, Jay-Z had a song that says, "Allow me to reintroduce myself."
Yeah.
And so for so many, we travel around the country. And if you're in a cab in New York, or if you're in an Uber and they say, "Where you from?" You say, "I'm from Detroit." They have a perception of Detroit because they haven't been here. They have a perception from the 1970s, from the 80s. They was like, "Oh, you guys still the murder capital. Man, our crime is down. Lord, this has been in 6 decades." They'll say, "You don't have any jobs. Our unemployment rate is at the lowest." They'll say, "Oh, what's going on? It's all abandoned." And what Stephen A. Smith did was bad. And if the mayor stated the still,
He's an idiot. I'm sorry. He's an idiot.
He should have been here, and we would have showed him the real Detroit, the neighborhoods. And that's what the mayor focused on in the state of the city, just the overall comeback of not just downtown, but the neighborhoods.
But you know what? I was taking an Uber in Santa Monica, California in December, and the Uber driver was like, "Where are you from?" I said, "Detroit." And he said, "Oh my God," because that's on my list. I definitely want to check out Detroit. I think the narrative, although I was in DC like a week later, and somebody said, "Oh my God, Detroit," and they started with the old narrative, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? You guys got more carjackings here in DC."
Right.
And I said, "That's like it." I said, "I'm kind of surprised you would say that, because the old narrative. I mean, most of the people I hear are saying Detroit. I really want to check it out."
People say that. I had to tell a guy. He said he was scared to go to these big cities. urban areas. I said, where are you from? He's from Washington State. I said, I'm scared to go to Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Idaho, Wyoming. I was in Boise, Idaho. Nice city, real diverse. Bartender at Blue Chris Steakhouse say, don't go north. She said, they might never find it. So listen, I'm saying, you scared to go to certain cities. I can't go to 7 states.
But I'll jump in and say this, man. With the NFL draft, they don't just pick any city. And so with the viewership, with the 50 million or 100 million, however many folks saw that, and then the number of people that came, when you come to Detroit, at that point, you're hooked. There's a lot of folks who I'll say it's just ignorant. They don't even know we sit on an international border. Right. There's so many people come here, and I get a chance to talk to folks, and they're like, oh my God, that river, what is it? I'm like, that's the Detroit River. And so we got the best river walk in the country. We got the best town square campus marshals voted in the country.
Wait, they sound like when I was in South Haven, I worked at a newspaper there, and I was looking at I said, what is that lake? The guy looked at me and said, Lake? That's Lake Michigan.
Well, you know what? Detroit has really become a brand. Shinola figured that out. Ford Motor Company now is opening the train station.
We've been a brand, Allan.
We've
been a brand.
You know what? I think the turning point for Detroit on the brand was in the Super Bowl 2011, the Chrysler commercial with Eminem, where people said, "Wow, that looks like." So
Eminem made us.
Well, that commercial, I think, nationally.
One of the things is so many young people. I give you an example. My daughter has no idea about why we used to come together at Halloween and put the little bubble lights on the car and drive around. She's like, Dad, what are y'all doing? And so they weren't even alive when the city was burnt down. And so we have to constantly push it out for information. We have to stay current, relevant. And Detroit is a trend zone.
Listen, I was there when the city was burning. Yeah. I had to defend the city, but nobody else. And I'm talking about not just me, but the appointees and people that block clubs, etc. One thing that I do miss, I wish Coleman Young was here to see how the city has evolved, because he was riding by himself. There's no question about it. And he did a hell of a job, despite banks moving out. All the retail left, school system went to a pot, etc.
And let me give Coleman A. Young, our former mayor, a huge shout out, because that people mover has saved the day. That's been the biggest hit with the NFL draft, because the way the streets were blocked, you couldn't get from the east side of Woodward to the west side of Woodward. But for the people,
they can't laugh.
They can't laugh. The people mover saved the day.
The people mover, I was telling them before we went on air, I stayed, downtown, and I stayed at the riverfront. Mm-hmm. And so when I pulled in a couple of days ago, I could not even find anywhere to park in my garage, because people had their guests, their relatives come in, they parked there, and then they just walked right through the skywalk, walked up the steps, and got on the people mover. Now, I used to people mover almost every day going to court. But, I mean, it was wonderful.
Should have had DVD come and talk. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back with the deputy mayor, and we're going to continue the conversation.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com and see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Without Project Clean,
He finally,
without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
The NFL Draft is coming to Detroit, and you can be there for free. Experience the ultimate NFL fan fest. Go to NFL.com/draft access. The NFL Draft, presented by Bud Light, April 25th through the 27th.
All right, we are back.
I mean, I said, we're back with the deputy man. How you doing?
and I feel great. I mean, it's a great day to be in Detroit.
Okay, give us an overall view of how the draft made the city come to life this weekend.
Well, the draft is really one of the biggest sporting events. I think it's
bigger
big.
than-
It's big.
Is it bigger than the Super Bowl?
Yes, it is. The draft is bigger than the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is one day. The draft is a 3-day event. The Super Bowl, you know, the tickets. I mean, those tickets are pricey. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. The NFL draft is a free event. All you got to do is download the NFL One Pass, and it takes up a bigger. If you notice, the street closures are really a bigger footprint, and it's really for families. And the draft draws in a lot more folks than the Super Bowl, and so the economic benefit for cities is tremendous. And so, you know, cities dream and hope that they can have an NFL draft. This is Detroit's first NFL draft, but we have really, with our numbers being centrally located and this being the number one sports town, football especially. Well, a lot of things what people don't know is, you know, Detroit produces more NFL players out of our city than any other city too.
Wow.
So this is a football town. We're close to Cleveland. We're close to Chicago. We're close to Pittsburgh. We have folks driving from all over to get here. They flew in, and Roger Goodell said himself with the numbers, and I knew we were going to have numbers like that, but the numbers on that first day just crushed.
And let me ask you about, there must be some really cool private parties that the average person, what's happening in that space in terms of, are there people at hotels are there organizations, the NFL having parties? What's
Yeah.
going on with that?
You know, they did have some private parties, but the NFL folks are really here working. And so for them, it's the work. The cool thing about it is some of the parties was really philanthropic, where money was raised and they gave community impact and gave out a lot of grants and scholarships to children. They donated money to Beyond Basics. And so the NFL does more than just a party. And from a city standpoint, from Mayor Duggan's standpoint, from my standpoint, we look for the long-term impact of how it's going to affect our city once it's gone. And so the economic benefit to the businesses with everybody, with hotels, with eating in the bars, the restaurants.
Are we going to continue to clean up and stuff? Because I saw places, I think, man, no, seriously, you know what? When people take pride in the property and you see it's cleaned up, it looks totally different.
So, you know, the mayor has had the mantra of from blight to beauty. And so that's all we've been doing during his administration. I always talk about the 45,000 houses that were abandoned, that were blighted out, and how we're really down to about 5,000 now. You know, we've rehabbed a lot, we've torn down a lot. And how much is your house worth if an abandoned burnt out property is next to it? Not much. Nobody. You can't even get your house insured. And so when we do that and tear down those houses and actually sell the side lot to you for $100, that increases the overall wealth of Detroiters.
Is the Detroit sign going to remain? Are they going to remain
Yes.
up on the freeway?
I haven't seen the Detroit side.
I've seen it on
It's right down the
94.
street.
Yeah.
You ain't missed.
But that's going to remain up as something
Yeah, amen.
that people will be able
Yes,
to see
yes.
past this
It-
event.
And one of the things that, if you notice, the freeways are a lot cleaner now. You know why? Because the city of Detroit cleans our own freeways now. You know, nobody cares like we do. And so the mayor negotiated with the state of Michigan, with MDOT, so that we could
They
take
wasn't
over.
cutting the grass.
Absolutely.
They were picking up the trash.
I won't say that they weren't cutting it. They weren't cutting it the way we
Often,
wanted.
and they weren't doing it as often enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're
Let me,
cutting it right.
let me ask you this: with all these people down town, etc., how was people like to drink and now they smoke that marijuana and all that? Any trouble?
The Detroit Police Department did a phenomenal job. Shout out to Chief James E. White and all the men and women of DPD. Y'all did it. It was the fans in Detroit did it too. Y'all showed out. Everybody was on their best behavior. It was like nothing. I think it was 1 or 2 fights. But other than that, if it was something bad, Adolph, you would know.
If it was a football game.
If it was bad, you would know. But no, it's been amazing. Everybody, like I said, been on their best behavior. It's the only thing that I saw people were a little upset, but we told them, we put the message out. It was first come, first serve. But on that first day, when thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people came, I told everybody I know, get there early, get in. Now, when they shut the doors off, when they shut it, I had a lot of people calling me, some of my friends. They was like, Deputy Mayor, please, I downloaded the NFL One app. I got my QR code. Make them let me in, please, Deputy Mayor. I was like, I can't. It's not my event, y'all. It's not my event. Don't be mad at me. Roger Goodell said doors closed. That was him. Wasn't me. Wasn't the city.
No. How much money do you think that came into this economy?
We'll see. They'll, but it's going to be in the hundreds of millions. I mean, you think about how many people were here. You think about the price of a hotel room. You think about the people. People had to stay somewhere, and they have stayed. So in the restaurants, man, you couldn't even get in there.
I talked to a bar owner yesterday who said he never made more money in one night than he ever did on Thursday night.
Hey, thank you, NFL, because guess what? That's gonna help the city of Detroit, and it's gonna help the state of Michigan. When you think about it, Detroit is really the economic engine for Michigan. With all of the stuff that we bring here, and in the tax capture, we send money out, and it goes into the general revenue.
I saw that. I didn't even know that guy existed. The marijuana. He had billboards. He had airplanes. Yeah. Like, damn. You know what?
I know.
It's unbelievable.
So
go ahead.
Yeah. Do we want to bring what we've also got? Marty Greenberg, a super fan, who's going to talk about the draft and what the Lions have done. And then later we have Ahmed Ghanim, who is running as a Democrat in the 11th congressional district against Haley Stevens. He wants one of the issues to be the war in Gaza. And
we got Jesus Marino. He played real football. He said, "No, he's a guy that he soccer. You know what? And I asked him to come here because soccer's a big deal. They call it football. Yeah. And they take it just as serious as we take. We're gonna get his take on the draft.
It was one cool thing I got to do yesterday. Wally Tripp. And so I don't know.
The Detroit Lions.
Absolutely. He was the first African-American that was drafted and actually played in the National Football League. So Lynn Wiggins, Zaza Herbert, and that family, the NFL had an activation site over at Harmony Park. And so we awarded the family, and it was just a wonderful event. Just giving the family the recognition. I just want to thank Visit Detroit for really having an event to uplift what he did in all of his activism.
Okay, good.
Right,
Let's
cool.
bring Marty up.
All right, we're going to bring Marty Greenberg, who is a good buddy of mine, who's actually an incredible fan. If you watch the game with Marty, he'll tell you what the players are making, what college they went to, when they were drafted.
He doesn't have anything better to do.
That's right.
Marty,
let's go on Jeopardy or something.
So Marty, what was your take? They've the first 2 drafts the Lions took were defensive players. What
I mean, Brad Holmes did what Brad Holmes does. He does not care about position. He does not care about overdrafting a position. He wants the best athletes, the best players for the Lions, and that's what they got. They got the 2 top-rated cornerbacks in the draft against the run. So it's really going to help the defense.
And I mean, those guys were just waiting there. Nobody was drafting any of the defensive players. So
Well,
were they surprised that they got those guys?
Brad Holmes said he was stunned that Terry and Arnold was available. He was projected to be a top 12 pick. I think he dropped down a little in the draft. He only ran a 4.5 40 at the combine, which really is kind of an average speed for an NFL cornerback. The other gentleman they got, Ennis Rakestraw, also isn't the fastest guy in the world. But what these two guys have is toughness. They fit the Lions' mentality of being leaders, and they will be a very good addition to this defense.
Marty, did you come down?
I did not.
So you watched it from home, watched it on
watched it
television?
from home. I thought the city looked unbelievable.
Okay. Why did you come down?
I got old.
I think, to be honest with you, Vanessa, at 70 years old, I get a little freaked out by all the people.
Okay.
That's right. I tell you,
Fair
we
enough,
can't help it. I tell you, I just can't believe all these lion slappies.
I know it.
Yeah, you know they. I'll just leave it at that.
But you know what, Adolph? For many years, Detroit was called Hockey Town, and I'm a big hockey fan too. But there is no doubt who the biggest team in the city is. The national.
It's football because baseball don't exist, even though we do have a baseball team. It's just baseball just doesn't get to play that football. Has replaced the NBA as the number one, you know, and listen, the draft, you know, when they had the All-Star game and et cetera in the NBA, that's where all the celebrities and whatever. But this time, Detroit had them all. They was all over the place.
Now, Marty, you've also followed these guys from England who are here. They've been football fans, Lion fans for probably, 10 years or something, and now they finally have you been following them in the last few days, or? Yeah,
there's a site on the internet called Roar of the Lions. These are gentlemen from the United Kingdom. It's amazing the love that these people across the pond give the city of Detroit. As you had mentioned earlier, Al, Detroit has become a real brand, and people from Europe love Detroit. There's a real something to our city that resonates with Europeans. So it's wonderful to see the following.
And some of the Irish cities, I think like Dublin, have a feeling of a sisterhood with the city of Detroit, kind of a working class, hardworking city. So what's left for the draft now? We got one more day left. What did the Lions need at this point?
Well, they have 4 more picks. They've got a pick in round 5. They have 2 picks in round 6 and 1 pick in round 7. They can go several ways. Again, they're going to take the best athletes available. They can use backup help for the offensive line. They're going to have to maybe have a replacement for Taylor Decker in the next year or two. They need help maybe for Aiden Hutchinson, another defensive end rusher, to put some more pressure on the quarterback. And how
about a punter?
Well, not a punter, but a kicker.
I mean, a field goal kicker.
Yeah, a field goal kicker. As Al and I spoke about before, right under our own noses, you have a kicker for the Michigan Panthers who has kicked 2 60-plus yard field goals in the last couple weeks.
And when they get him, he's going to revert back to
exactly.
That's what he's going to do. Listen, we got a young man here named Jesus Marino.
Yes.
He played, as he told me, real football in Mexico.
Yeah.
How did you like this version of our football and the draft?
No, it's amazing, because it's once in a lifetime. So it's my turn to be here. So that's beautiful.
Are you a big Lions fan?
Yes, I live in Detroit. So,
okay. And you come around, and is it exciting, or do you still look at it and say, well, soccer or football, as you say, is more exciting? Have you gotten to the point where you think they're equal, or you still favor?
For me, it's equal. it's like a baseball, football, or soccer. Is everybody's big in that sport. So
When you came here and you saw your first American version of football, how did you?
what I mean,
What did you think? Is this real football or this is they just throwing the
no,
ball?
I mean, like I say, every sport is a good sport. So for me, my biggest sport that was soccer or football for me.
What do you call it? You can call it like with American football, it's like football Americano, right? Yeah, football Americano.
Yeah, football Americano.
Because you gotta say that you have the real football.
Well, yeah, because I played soccer since I was 6 years old. So I grew up with the sport. So even though when I play a professional soccer in Mexico, so I played 2 seasons and then I moved to Detroit. Of course,
What team did you play for?
Atlas.
Okay.
And I moved to Detroit in Southwest, of course, and everybody played football. So it's like in every community, it's like for instance, Cantrani, they used to have their own team, Mexican teams, every community. So we started playing soccer right here. And matter of fact, in 1979, we won the championship down there in Petron Park. So
okay, let's take.
And was it hard to learn the rules, to
No.
understand the rules, or did you figure it out fairly
All you have to do is
easily?
throw the
no,
ball.
because like I said, I grew up playing soccer in Mexico, so I know by heart all the rules.
But the American football,
No, I never play American.
but in terms of understanding it,
Oh,
like,
yes.
some people
Oh,
are
yes.
like, why are they doing this?
Oh,
Why
yes.
are they?
Let's take a break.
Okay,
We'll be back.
we'll be back.
Okay.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your garden supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com to see if you qualify.
Say that again.
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
The NFL Draft is coming to Detroit, and you can be there for free. Experience the ultimate NFL fan fest. Go to NFL.com/draft access. The NFL Draft, presented by Bud Light, April 25th through the 27th.
Okay, we are back. We're going to wrap it up with Marty Greenberg. So, Marty, what would you hope to see tonight? What if you had to pick one position that really needed help still in sort of filling out the lines? What would you?
I would like to see him actually 1 or 2 positions, even in a backup offensive lineman, a young guy who can come in, give them some depth, or another edge rusher to help Aiden Hutchinson out, put pressure on the quarterback. I think either of those would be a winning thing.
And the way it looked,
I was just going to say, I love Brad Holmes. What Brad Holmes, in Brad Holmes, I trust. I love the guy.
Yeah, man, you know what, Marty. You know what? Since I know you, yeah, I can't even express myself because you are a true lion slappy. I give you number 1. number one. Jim, number two. Now we got the deputy mayor, number three. Allan.
I would say the
is out
deputy
his-
mayor is probably number one. He just showed us some.
But I don't be around the deputy mayor all the time. So
Yeah.
I gotta put him at three.
I have to say this: if you ever want the experience of watching the game, Marty Greenberg, it's better than listening to the NFL announcers. Sometimes they don't know what they're talking about.
He's
This
the
guy, really.
He's the Ken Jennings of the internet.
Yes, it's always great watching
Thanks,
the
Marty.
game with them. Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and so our next guest, we're going to bring him on, is Ahmed Ghanim, correct? And he is running as a Democrat in the 11th congressional district against Haley Stevens. Well, I don't know if there's any other folks there, but Haley Stevens was supported by AIPAC, and she was able to knock out Andy Levin by quite a bit because she was considered much stronger pro-Israel. Andy Levin was critical of Israel, and now
Isn't he Jewish?
yes,
Yeah.
and he's Jewish, and she's not.
So
but,
he was,
but
yeah,
she was more traditional. And as I understand it, Ahmed, you want to raise the issue of the Gaza war and sort of show the contrast there. Tell us what's on the agenda for you.
So thank you very much for having me today. It's a beautiful day for Detroit. I'm happy for the city that I love, and I consider myself part of Detroit. Lived most of my life around Detroit area. So thank you for everyone that made this day a good day for everyone lives in Michigan. And they taught us in the medical school that we have to focus on the disease, not the symptoms. So the war in Gaza and what's happening in the war in Gaza is actually a symptom for a bigger disease, a disease that we have here in the United States. And this disease is that the lack of representation. People in all the United States, not in the 11 districts only, they are not really represented. They are not really represented by the people that's supposed to represent them. I lived part of my life in a dictatorship. I know what dictatorship means. I know what it means to live under a dictatorship.
And where was that?
Egypt.
Where Egypt? Okay.
Yes. So originally from Egypt. People have the false narrative that dictatorship is a country where there are soldiers everywhere in every corner, and there is no elected officials, and there is no Congress, and that's totally false. Dictatorships, actually, they have elected officials, they have Congress, they have parliament. But those people that they claim to be representing the people, they don't represent the people. And that's what we have here in the United States. I was, speaking of Detroit, I was in a meeting with Sherita Nidar, which is the representative for Detroit, in a meeting with some of the community members. And I told him, now, why aren't you calling for a ceasefire? The polls in your city shows that the vast majority of people in your city and in your district are calling for a ceasefire, and you're supposed to represent them. Why aren't you representing them? And what he told me that I think we should free the hostages first before we call for a ceasefire. I told him, I want to stop you there because I think your job is not to think. Your job is to represent. If you want to think, you can retire from your representation job and sit and write an article or be a writer or write a book. And we will appreciate your thought as a thinker. But your job description is to represent the people, not to think for the people. And this is the main problem that I see here. This is the main disease. And you see the war in Gaza, you see other issues are symptoms of we are the people are not representing. We are paying taxes. We think we are represented by the major study from Harvard University showed that only the representative of the people only respond to 30% of what people in their district want. And that's wrong.
I have a question. You know, you did he say Shree?
Shree, that you're talking about.
Yeah, but in his district, I live in this district, it's more issues than the Gaza. Not everybody is concerned about the war in Israel. We worried about crime, worried about unemployment, etc. So he's got to walk a fine line when he start talking about stuff that don't have anything to do with the average person in addition.
You are totally right. You are totally right, except it has everything to do with the average person, because the money that we're sending there, it could be used to fight crime. It could be used to empower the police department. It could be used for education. The problem that we have in Michigan in education, we have low fund for education. The teacher don't have fund to teach the kids. You see the schools in Detroit, you see the schools everywhere, the cutting of the funding of school, while we're sending billions and billions of dollars. So it has everything to do with every average person. The ads that you show in your TV right now, that some people cannot pay their home taxes in Detroit. I work with some organization in Detroit. I'm affiliated with some organization in Detroit for people cannot pay their water bills in Detroit. So yes, everything is going in the right direction in Detroit with the management and everything, but we have to spend a lot of money in Detroit, and all this money are coming out of our taxes. Again, the polls will show this is one issue, as you said, and there is a lot of issues, other issues. But are you represented in all the other issues or not? And this is the problem. This is you see it in foreign policy, you see it in healthcare. I work in healthcare, for example. We have representative that since for 20 years or more than 20 years, they're talking about healthcare reform. If you ask anyone that works in healthcare right now, any neutral person, I'm not talking about red or blue, any neutral person, and ask them.
So you saying that Congresswoman Stevens is not doing her job? Is that why you running?
Yes, I'm not representative. She's not representing the people. She is representing the dark money and representing the special interests that pay in her campaign. We have a problem with campaign financing in the United States. We have a problem with representatives staying without term limits. We need to put term limits for people serving in Congress, just because representation should be a mission, should not be a career.
Don't you think Israel has a right to retaliate what Hamas did to its citizens?
Israel has the right to defend itself, for sure. I'm not denying that. And I'm not talking about I'm not going to go into the bits and pieces of the war. I'm talking about the representation. If you're 70% of your constituents, and the polls, that not just one poll, more than like 10 polls showing that the majority inside the Democratic Party, your party, are calling for a ceasefire, and you are not representing that, then you're not doing your job. If 70% of the people in the Democratic Party said no ceasefire, I would say yes. Do not call for a ceasefire, because that's proper representation. I am for a proper representation for the people, regardless what the people think.
Ahmed,
yeah.
Ahmed, I have a question, then we're going to go to a break and we'll come back. But the question is, and maybe this is, it's a longer question, is what's the solution there in the middle? I mean, we're talking ceasefire, return of hostages. What next? What do you see as the next step to resolving that? I mean, it's complicated, but go ahead.
I think everyone is following closely what's happening in the Middle East, not just since October 7th, since the years and years. I'm originally from the Middle East. I live less than 4 hours driving from Jerusalem. So when I was born in Egypt, 4 hours away from Jerusalem. So I'm well educated in what's happening in Palestine and Israel. And we saw that the fight, even if it will continue for 100 years, is no one going to win. This is not a winnable. The only win for us is to find a path for peace. And this is not an easy way to do. It has the United States to be neutral. The United States has to play a better role in this. And that's tied to the reform that we need in our foreign policy right now. We need.
And what about the Arab countries? What about Arab countries as well? But we'll get back to that. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back with Ahmed Ghanim, who's the 11th congressional district candidate, Democratic candidate.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
NFL Draft is coming to Detroit, and you can be there for free. Experience the ultimate NFL fan fest. Go to NFL.com/draft access. The NFL Draft, presented by Bud Light, April 25th through the 27th.
All right. Okay, we're back with Ahmed. We're a little limited on time, but I'm going to ask you something. Haley Stevens, obviously, last time had a lot of money from AIPAC. My sense is if they see that you are a threat to her reelection, AIPAC will jump in. Do you have funding to go up against that, or is that just you have to deal with the grassroots movement here?
I have the people. I have the people that got tired and sick and tired of their the money funding from outside the district to influence their decision, and I see that every day. I don't know. There is no way we can match them with money and what they would play their game. We cannot match them with money. But we have the people, and I think with the people we're gonna win, because no more. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If people are sick and tired of these practices, they are not gonna elect you.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Good luck, and we'll have you back again. We can talk more. The issues are there's just so much to talk about. It's hard to condense it in there, but we appreciate you taking the time to come on, and we will see you again. Good luck in the campaign.
Okay, that was interesting.
It is. I see one of our viewers said that dude is going to be to leave.
Only look out for
the people.
His people.
Okay.
He gonna look out for the people.
That's what he said.
His people.
His people. Right.
So,
Look out for his people. Right.
They invoked the name Detroit. You hear that deputy mayor.
I mean, I definitely hear what he's saying. But when he was talking, when he talked about poverty and the people, and he just kept mentioning Detroit. I'm the deputy mayor of Detroit, and so I know he said he was educated on what's happening over in Gaza, but be educated about really what's going on in the city of Detroit too. So be respectful. When it talks about water affordability, we're touted. Gary Brown goes around the country. We've made water affordable in the city of Detroit. Many folks, if you're below the poverty line, you're only paying basically like $18 for your water. And so water is affordable. And so when you talk about the school districts and stuff, just be real respectful and educated about our issues in the city of Detroit. Because as deputy mayor, my primary issue is the citizens and residents of the city of Detroit.
And that's why I said
he doesn't have your vote.
Right.
Well, he's not. His district.
I'm just keeping it light. Because I'm telling you, when he started talking, I was like, Lord Jesus. And I know he's campaigning, but in light of the fact that we're here in a celebratory mood, in light of the fact that we're celebrating Detroit, that was very, very heavy. And actually, it was kind of down. I mean, it really was.
It is a serious issue. It is an issue that's important to a lot of people.
But let me ask you this. When
Saddam
Hussein was killing, when he was killing hundreds of thousands of Muslims in Iraq, and they killed all these folks over in the Middle East, I didn't see any protests.
There's a lot going on in the Middle East. I mean, Syria is killed, Assad has killed hundreds of thousands of Muslims there. There's problems, but not to dismiss this. This is a pressing issue.
But it's not a pressing issue in a lot of these neighborhoods. People don't, and I told you this before, Allan. When y'all elected Rashida Tlaib, her first agenda on her agenda was the Gaza Strip. It wasn't the 13th district. And you know what? The average person in the 13th district could care less. They looking at. He was right about that. I got water, the schools, crime. Can I go to the grocery store? Is there a grocery store? This is stuff y'all been dealing with and what we've been dealing with for a long time. So for him to come into another district and say, oh, he's not doing his job. Sure, he's not stupid. He knows he got to walk a fine line on how to deal with whatever issue that his constituents bring to the table.
Let me say this. I am not implying, nor did I say that what he said was not important, that these are not important issues. I just want to make it clear. We're here during the NFL draft weekend. We're celebrating Detroit. And this is my point of view, Vanessa Moss's point of view. I think that what he said was very important. But for today, when we're celebrating what has gone on here in the city of Detroit, I just felt like it was very heavy. I was not rude to our guests. I would never be rude to our guests, but I get to have my point of view. And I will also say this, that the deputy mayor pointed out that when you talk and when you educate yourself, then you can talk to the people, because so far, I will say Vanessa is not convinced, because when you say that people are worried about water, and we live here and we know that in 2016 we talked about it, and we know that Gary Brown and the administration has addressed the issue, I have a problem with you being misinformed. And I get to say that. No, I'm not listening to you.
Here's what I'm going to say is that we invite. Granted, I mean, we could have invited him next week. I invited him on. I invited him on the show to talk, and I knew what the issues were. Yeah, we have a celebration, but it's also, for people that are having a heavy heart and dealing with those issues. It's like there's room for both. There's room for both.
I just want to add this. What's happening in the Middle East, my heart is heavy. It is heavy for both Israel. It's heavy for Gaza. It's heavy for the Palestinians.
But it's not my problem. I'm taking that. It's not my problem. I look at both sides, and I can. You know what? I'm sorry that they having a war. But what is happening here where I live at?
And that's
about Donald Trump getting reelected.
So I just wanted to say that. But when you speak about what's happening in Detroit, you have to be correct. I mean, I'm sick of everybody painting the city. It's like, oh, we're just the poor downtrodden. We're on the way up, Detroit. And so if you look at the neighborhoods, if you look at what's going on, we are up.
Todd, there is. I mean, look, there's amazing. I mean, you come downtown. I mean, I was yesterday walking through everything, and I'm like, wow. But we still have poverty. We still have crime. We still have educational issues. We still have. And
in the United States, every city does.
Yeah. I'm not throwing it on Detroit. But
that's what I want people to say. When you talk about it, he never mentioned one suburban city when he talked about some of these other issues. This is some of those.
It's some other areas too. City in the state of Michigan.
But then, what's happening for the rest of the day?
With you inviting him, I think it's. Yeah. But it's very, very heavy as far as.
What's happening?
Oh my God! Detroit Show Up today is Family Day, and so it's so many activities for the family. A friend of mine called and he said, "Deputy Mayor, I have a 3-year-old. What y'all got for my 3-year-old?" I said, "Right there at Comerica Ballpark, not Comerica, but the Corner Ballpark, the old Tiger Stadium." In Michigan and Concord, that's the PAL Corner Ballpark. It's a lot of activities for small children. They have so many things, something for every age group. So today is the perfect day where Detroit, bring your family out. It's really Detroit themed. And so I'll be out there and, gonna have a good time.
And where are we going to see the mayor? Has the mayor been out and about?
Oh my God. Yes, he has. He's been everywhere.
He's introduced one of the draft.
Yeah, he introduced our pick last night. So,
okay. Yeah. And is he a big football fan?
Huge football fan. The mayor goes to every Lions home game. He doesn't miss one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I feel sorry. Boy. I got to go to the listen, man. You know what? I'm glad we had the draft, etc. But y'all wrong. Lions, they had that shot and they blew it. But they blew it.
I have a Lions today. Let me explain. Everybody knows they watch the show that I do not watch football, right? However, my brother, who passed away last year, was a die-hard Lions fan. He bought me this jacket, and if he was living, he would be down here at the NFL draft. So, in his honor and in honor of celebrating that the NFL draft is here in the city of Detroit, I decided to wear my jacket.
Okay, that's. I have a quick question for Todd. After this, what's next in terms of enticing something as grand as this? What's the next?
This is really, when I say it, this has done it, because now We have shown the world what we can do, what we can host. This is the biggest thing. So everybody else is small next to this, and they know that we have the capacity, we have the hospitality, we have the infrastructure, and folks don't have to say why not Detroit. They now are saying, I'm going to Detroit. And so with the conventions, I think more and more conventions coming here.
We've got new hotels coming in on the Joe Louis side, over at the Hudson side. Is that going to help conventions for people?
Let me tell you, and I'm so glad you asked that, because one of the key things when somebody's considering whether or not to bring a convention to the city of Detroit, they actually want the hotel attached to the convention center. So the new hotel will have that bridge, and it'll be attached to our convention center. And we're adding more and more hotel rooms, and so it's just overall.
I never forget this when under Coleman Young, Emmett Moulton was proposed a hotel on Cobo, and he got vilified and etc. Now, 30, 40 years later, here it is. It's happening.
That's what happened when you're a visionary. Sometimes you can see further than other folks.
In '68, Detroit was in line to be one of the finalists for the Olympics. Windsor and Detroit. You think that could ever happen now?
I do. After hosting the NFL draft, and we need to get past today, but from what I'm being told, we have definitely exceeded the NFL's expectations. And so with the enthusiasm, the amount of fans that came, and we're looking to crush the record as far as, the first day, 275,000 people. To me, it was more than that because they closed the gates. We're just talking about inside the footprint. 275,000. Yeah. And it was thousands that were still coming trying to get in, but that's why we activated Greektown. They went to Greektown. They went to other activation spots. They went to Beacon Park.
They gave their money
So
to the
Todd,
casino.
how do you know that it far exceeded their expectation?
Because I have been, first of all, let's let y'all know I got a little something special right here. I am the deputy mayor, not only of the city of Detroit, but this badge right here, if you can see it, it says deputy mayor of the NFL draft. I have been talking to the NFL leadership, and they told me that it has exceeded their expectations. They're loving the city of
You
Detroit.
got to keep the badge?
Oh, yes, I do.
I want my money from that.
Look.
You put that on eBay. You put that on eBay and make a lot of money.
That's one of a kind, baby. And look, I got my, look, this shit, NFL all day.
Right.
Go ahead. Final thought.
So my final thought is this. Listen, we come and sit at this table. We are a family. And we're going to agree to disagree, and we do disagree. I don't want anybody that's watching this show thinking that I have beef with Allan. I do not.
I have a
I do have my own point of view, and I do not mind expressing my point of view. As a matter of fact, I get paid a lot of times to get my.
That's why you running for 36 district.
I am running for 36 district court. I want to be your judge at 36 district court. There's 2 seats. I just want one. Everyone have a wonderful time today, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, and thanks, Allan. Thanks to the deputy mayor.
Thanks so much, and go Lions.
Go Lions. And I want to see y'all today, downtown Detroit at the NFL draft. Come on, it's day 3.
And all the drinks are on the deputy mayor.
Or at the Mongos.
As much water as you can drink.
Man, you keep doing advertising that we're not getting paid for.
That's what we're gonna
see you
invoice.
Thursday.
We got to invoice
on our Thursday show, and then next Saturday here at McShane.
All right, thanks for.